Hello and welcome to Outspoken and Untamed. I am your host, Gray Car Bridgers. And before we go any further, let me say this clearly. This is not a podcast about having all the answers. Being outspoken doesn't mean being unkind. And being untamed doesn't mean being lost. I've spent most of my life inside families, raising children, working in education, sitting at the crossroads where love, learning, identity, and expectations collide. I've watched how deeply we care and how often we're told we're doing it wrong, especially when our kids don't fit neatly into a box. Outspoken and Untamed is a space where we talk honestly about family, raising children, education, neurodiversity, and the very real question of when to parent and when to step back. We'll talk about what actually helps, what quietly harms, and what nobody seems brave enough to say out loud. I'll be inviting experts, educators, psychologists, parents, creatives, thinkers, people who know their field and know what it's like to be human inside it. This isn't about trends. It's about truth, nuance, and lived experiences. And listen, this won't be heavy all the time. And there are going to be some stories, I promise you. Funny ones, awkward ones, travel mishaps, parenting fails, moments where I absolutely did not have it all together. Because humor is often where the truth sneaks in. Why Outspoken and Untamed? I chose the name Outspoken and Untamed because so many of us, parents, children, women especially, are taught to quiet ourselves to make others comfortable. This podcast is about reclaiming our voices without losing our compassion. Being outspoken doesn't mean being unkind. Being untamed doesn't mean about being reckless. It means being honest, awake, and rooted in what matters. If you've ever wondered, am I doing too much or not enough? Is this behavior a problem or is it a message? What if the myth I've been taught isn't true? You're in the right place. I don't promise answers. I promise conversation. Take a breath and come as you are. And let's get a little more honest, a little more untamed together. Welcome to Outspoken and Untamed. Here's a little bit about me. I've been a wildlife photographer in my 20s. I spent time in the Amazon making wildlife films with Martin and Chris Kratt, which is now Wild Kratts. I've won the Best Children's Film in 1993 with the Wild Kratts. I have a master's degree in education. I've been a yoga instructor for over 30 years. It's crazy. I've been in corporate America, in sales, global sales, and I've also been a director of admissions and in education for the past 15 years. Being in the Amazon, I have to say, it taught me a lot about curiosity, patience, and paying attention to what actually is in front of you. I have also raised two wonderful boys. They're now grown, they're quite thoughtful, and fully themselves. They'll be joining me on this podcast from time to time because honestly, some of the best conversations happen across generations. And over the years, I've been lucky to meet people doing extraordinary work in education, neuroscience, psychology, creativity, and family life, and many of whom will be here as guests. This podcast is where all the worlds come together. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. So much of what we've struggled with in family, in parenting, in education, and even in ourselves comes from trying to fit complex living beings into simple stories. This podcast is an invitation to slow down, question those stories, and make room for something truer. You don't have to be louder to be outspoken. You don't have to be reckless to be untamed. You just have to be willing to stay curious. I'm Gray Car Bridgers, and this is Outspoken and Untamed. Thanks for listening. I'm really glad you're here.